the framework character of knowledge. Algorithmic representations of the modeled world with its procedural properties, as well as in the case of point 1, must take into a focus relation to elementary entities and their properties in relationships of a modeled world. It should, therefore, use a representation method based on the RDF model corresponding to point 1, with a terminology relating to entities with their properties in relationships being anchored in the chosen dictionary, ontology, to which access created by the RDF model has been bound. For example, the language UML, as a means of describing RDF modeled reality, would allow UML diagrams to data retrieve into the represented process and their belonging to home entities within the chosen ontology. Knowledge pattern in a semantic web context. Creating data for the semantic web means conceptualizing world using ER model with a participation of a key ontology because of sharing and reusing formalized knowledge representation. Each data item can take its meaning from a standardized description of web resources within the proper ontology using its URI identifier. The RDF as a general framework for describing, replacing, and reusing metadata represents the technological foundation of the semantic web. From anchoring corresponding concepts on the web, or the semantic web, the current state of development is the use of the RDF modeling principle. RDF describes the resource, which has some properties, and these properties have corresponding values. While the subject defines the source, the property determines its nature and at the same time expresses the relationship between the subject and the object. The semantic web idea is based on the RDF technology, which integrates the web language syntax and the naming of its elements by URIs. So a content presented on the semantic web has a well-defined meaning and allows a better understanding of both people and software agents. The semantic web provides a common framework that allows data to be shared and reused. It also emphasizes the ease of understanding and applicability of documents on the web, especially easy usability of knowledge model as well as knowledge pattern approach. The knowledge pattern is a general type of component knowledge of proven success, often with a design concept of good practice, a process of structuring, to create the architecture of component knowledge. It may be declarative, procedural, or frame-like. An anti-pattern is a common often accompanying process phenomenon that is not involved in solving the problem, wrong solutions or worst-case solutions. Unlike the model, the anti-model generally describes individual non-model cases and highlights a general solution to recurring problems. In its formal representation, the knowledge pattern should be anchored within a specific knowledge base with a given semantics. If possible, be used for the formal representation of knowledge through a language with easy-to-understand interpretations, preferably graphical. Have individual atomic components, of which the pattern/anti-pattern is composed, clearly defined, and described. Be anchored within a specific knowledge base with a given semantics. If possible, be used for the formal representation of knowledge through a language with easy-to-understand interpretations, preferably graphical. Have individual atomic components, of which the pattern/anti-pattern is composed, clearly defined, and described. As an example of the knowledge pattern, we shall show in this paragraph the case of a declarative knowledge at its basic logical form. In the field of formal logic, the declarative knowledge design pattern extends deep into the history of formal systems. At a time when philosophers and mathematicians changed their orientation from specific individual descriptions to general principles of reasoning, they came as a result of general principles of deduction in formal logics. Procedures as a rule modus ponens or the resolution inference rule in propositional or predicate logic represent in terms of the ongoing development of artificial intelligence typically general guidance on how to derive from the assumptions logical consequences, respectively how to arrive at a logical deduction on the arguments that confirm or reject given assertions. This is nothing more than a guideline on the application of a knowledge pattern.